This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast. We're thrilled that our television audience is with us. The Freedom from Religion Foundation, that's the group that's tried to remove the national motto, get rid of the Pledge of Allegiance, eradicate public prayer, National Day of Prayer events, and, of course, they don't like World War II memorials that have, quote, religious symbolism. In fact, they call a statue that's been in place in Montana for 60 years a sham. That's what they call it, a sham, despite the fact, and for our television audience, the statue is a depiction of what our soldiers actually saw. It's up on the screen for the TV audience. Actually saw when they were serving in the Italian portion of the Alps and in Switzerland during World War II, and it was put there as a memorial. But now the Freedom from Religion Foundation has filed a federal suit. Now, you'll remember back last year, they were trying to remove the statue, and the statue was going to go. And we got 70,000 of you signed on to a letter that we sent to the Forestry Service. Congressional action took place, and I was happy to say the Forestry Service said the statue can stay. And that we thought was okay. We thought that was a good decision. We were thrilled with it. And then the Freedom from Religion Foundation filed a federal lawsuit. Now, David French is with me. David, you served in the military. These memorial services, these memorial events have real significance for soldiers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about the seminal event of their lives and the danger that they faced, the courage they had to display. And you seek comfort in that circumstance, and they found comfort in these statues that were scattered around the Alps. And so this is a memorialization of actual historical events.
They have filed a federal lawsuit. In that federal lawsuit, here's what they say. FFRF members, that's Freedom from Religion Foundation members, include individuals who have had direct and unwanted exposure to the statue of Jesus in Flatland National Forest, and such members will have direct, quote, and unwelcome exposure to the statue of Jesus in the future as frequenters of this portion of the forest and the national parks. And they are offended by this. Therefore, they want it removed. They call it a sham. They even go after the ACLJ, us, in this lawsuit, saying we mobilized 70,000 American citizens, and that's the reason the Forestry Service kept it up. Well, a lot of people contacted the Forestry Service to keep it up. The Forestry Service did the right thing, but this is where you come in, folks. We are now in federal court over this, and this is where I need your help. We're filing a brief on behalf of the Montana Congressional Delegation and you. So if you're one of the 70,000 people that signed on to the letter, I now need you to sign on to the brief. If you haven't signed on to that letter, you can still sign on to that brief. Here is the number. It's 1-877-989-2255. Now, again, that number is 877-989-2255 to sign on to that brief. You can also sign on at aclj.org. But take a stand to defend the Jesus Memorial, 877-989-2255.
It's happened again. An atheist anti-Christian group has gone to court, this time to remove a statue of Jesus, a war memorial erected by World War II heroes on a mountain in Montana that has stood for 6 decades. This memorial was erected as a replica of statues that they saw fighting for freedom across Europe, symbols that gave them hope. Yet the Freedom from Religion Foundation calls this memorial, quote, a ruse and a sham, and has filed a federal lawsuit to get it removed. We've met these outrageous anti-Christian challenges before, and now we'll do it again. The ACLJ will be filing a critical amicus brief with the court, supporting the memorial and urging the court to keep it in place. Stand with the ACLJ, sign on to our amicus brief, send a powerful message to the court and to the atheist group. This symbol of sacrifice must continue to stand. Add your name to our brief now. Call 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.
Hey, welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. Well, the statue of Jesus that's been in place in Montana as a World War II memorial, you're seeing it on the screen for our television audience, has been there for 60 years. It is now under attack. We're actually in federal court. The Freedom from Religion Foundation said that their members are offended when they see this. They call it a sham. The statue, they said, placed there by the Knights of Columbus is a sham. Here's what they say. The continued presence of the Jesus Shrine on Forest Service property violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment by giving the appearance of the government's endorsement of Christianity in general, and ready for this, and Roman Catholicism in particular. The defendant's actions also diminish civil and political standing of non-religious and non-Christian Americans and constitutes governmental preference for religion and Christianity. You know, the real answer to that is if you don't like the monument, just don't look at it. No one's requiring you to look at it, but it is a depiction of what our military soldiers saw in World War II. Now, as I said, 80,000 of you contacted, about 78,000 of you contacted us when this issue first came to light, when we thought that the statue was going to be removed by the Forestry Service. You responded. The Forestry Service allowed that monument. The lease was re-upped, basically, for the Forestry Service to the Knights of Columbus. It stayed in place. Now the Freedom from Religion Foundation has actually filed a lawsuit. We're representing members of the congressional delegation from Montana and others as well, and you. And that's where you come in. And I want to say this before we take your phone calls. A lot of calls coming in. I need you on this brief. Over 70,000 of you contacted us when we wanted that letter. If you did contact us, if you did sign that letter, I need you to call back in to add your name to this brief. You'll be part of the committee to defend this statute, this memorial service, this memorial monument that's been put in place. But I need you to go to aclj.org or call us at 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. Or you can sign it. About 14,000 of you have already at aclj.org. So I encourage you to do that. We've got a lot of calls coming in. If you want to talk to us on air, David French is in the studio with me. Kenny is calling from Kentucky. He's on line 1. Hi, Kenny.
Yeah. My first question is it not illegal to discriminate based on religious? I mean, is it okay for everybody to just sue you because you're religious faith?
Well, what you've got is a situation where the religion clauses and the Establishment Clause has been very difficult for the Supreme Court to grapple with, and it almost becomes a situation where by removing the statute, you'd be showing hostility towards religion, which is specifically prohibited, especially since this is, folks, again, this is what the soldiers saw. This is what they saw when they were in the Alps, in the Italian region, and in Switzerland. These are what they saw. This is a reference to them of what they saw. But that's what it would be. In my view, it would be showing hostility. David?
I completely agree. I mean, let's remember that this is a lease to the Knights of Columbus. And then to say to a private entity, well, you can't use any kind of expression that is at all religious, never mind if it's historical. I mean, that is discrimination. That's viewpoint discrimination, and that's what Freedom from Religion Foundation is asking the federal government to engage in.
Well, they're actually saying that this is a sham, folks. I mean, they're saying the statue is a sham, that the Jesus statue is a sham, and it's offensive to their members, and therefore it should be removed. Now, we've got to take an aggressive stand here. We're going to do it this week on the broadcast, and that's where I need you. That's where really you come in on this. They put in their complaint that 70,000 ACLJ members contacted and pressured the Forestry Service. We didn't pressure the Forestry Service. We just said 70,000 Americans support that monument staying in place. It was that simple. And that's what we are trying to keep in place. So, again, if you have signed on to that letter, we want you to sign on to the brief now. You need to call back in. If you didn't sign on to the letter, that's okay too. We need you on the brief. So go to your phones at 877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or aclj.org. And by the way, when you're at the website, we are in that matching challenge. So any amount you donate is tax deductible, and it is doubled. We're in a matching challenge campaign. Next is Frances calling from Montana. She's on line 2. Hi, Frances.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really appalled at what they're trying to do. You know, that statue was a representation of hope for people who had none at the time. And to represent the hope that they had in their hearts, and for us as the citizens here in the United States who believe in our Lord, to be able to say that statue is what they looked at to keep going and to have hope.
You know, you see these throughout Europe. You see these statues. And David, again, you currently serve still with the Army as a Judge Advocate General JAG officer. You've been in Iraq. But these soldiers in World War II, they came back to the United States after they served their country. They wanted a memorial to reflect something that meant something to them when they were overseas defending freedom. And this is what it is. This is what they saw. And to me, this whole idea that, quote, the Jesus statue, a sham, which is what the Freedom from Religion Foundation says, is they're the sham here. That's the nonsense. Anything that has any connotation that might somehow have a religious influence or might look like a religious symbolism, as if it's, you got to treat it like asbestos in the ceiling tiles and you can't touch it.
Well, history is what it is what it was. I mean, these soldiers saw these statues. This is a representation of what they saw. The Freedom from Religion Foundation likes to whitewash history. It likes to eliminate religion from our heritage. It likes to create a false appearance of what America is and was.
Yeah, well, how about this one? This is going to get you, folks. Listen to this one. In the complaint, members of the FFRF, that's the Freedom from Religion Foundation, have had to alter their conduct to avoid the big mountain because of the Jesus statue. They've had to alter their conduct. I do want them to alter their conduct by being dismissed from federal court. As I said, they have filed a federal lawsuit. We are meeting that challenge as well. That's where you come in. I want to encourage you to stand with us in this fight. It's critically important that we hear from you. The number for you to sign on to that brief is 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or ACLJ.org. Gary's calling from Texas. Hi, Gary.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. You're on the air.
Yes, what I would like to say is I don't have a course of this stuff, but I'm a veteran my own self.
Yes, sir.
And
thank you for your service.
Very appalling. How can you want to dismiss something that people died from, and they wanted to represent. They wanted to remember what they went through while they was overseas fighting and stuff. And it's appalling to me that it just has to be a picture of Jesus Christ.
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say this, Gary. Thank you for your service to our country, but I don't want to get your blood boiling more, but here's what they say in paragraph 59 of their complaint from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. The actions of the defendant in violating the Establishment Clause are injurious to the interests of the plaintiff and to its members and warrant relief from the court. And as I said, they also said other members of the Freedom from Religion Foundation have had to avoid their contact with the big mountain because of the Jesus statue. Now, think about this for a moment, folks. They're not going to go by Big Mountain because of a 25-foot memorial for World War II veterans. I mean, just think about this for a moment, how absurd this is. That they live in America and we're offended by it, so we're not even going to go by the mountain because we might glance upon it. And what's going to happen? I mean, are they going to be like the Wicked Witch of the West and melt or something? I mean, this is absurd when you think about this. The reality is, there's this theory in law where it's called the eggshell plaintiff, where somebody's so easily offended, we just we react. We cannot just react because someone's offended. You know what? You live in the United States of America. Sometimes you're going to see things you don't like. In fact, David, that's what you were defending, that freedom, when you were in Iraq.
That's exactly right. And if we're talking about offensiveness here and who's offended, isn't it incredibly offensive to the veterans, to those who remember the purpose of the statue, to have it removed simply because some few dozen people are too delicate to even look at a picture of Jesus or a depiction of Jesus? That's the absurdity here. What is it about their sense of outrage that trumps the sense of outrage and of history of millions and millions of other Americans?
I want you to listen to this soundbite I'm going to play for you. This is from the two co-presidents of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Number 10, I want you to listen carefully. This is from their podcast. Take a listen.
This woman that called me said that it's a war memorial. Is it a war memorial or what?
No. The special use permit that the Knights of Columbus got in the 50s records it as to provide a site for a religious shrine. And the map is titled Knights of Columbus Shrine, and there's even a tab pointing to it that's marked Shrine. And this is a sham claim that it's a war memorial.
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, the letters that in the history of this showed that memorial was put up for our veterans of World War II. They didn't make this up. This is what the veterans in World War II saw. And by the way, it's been there for 60 years. 60 years it's been there, more than 60 years now. So, folks, we got to fight back. We were successful in getting the Forestry Service to maintain the statue in place. Now we're in federal court, and that's, again, where you come in. I want you to go to aclj.org. Go to the website. You can sign the brief there. You can actually add your name to the brief as part of our committee. So go to aclj.org. You should also go and get familiar with our social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook. All that resource is available for you. I encourage you to do that, aclj.org. You can also call right now and add your name to this brief, and hundreds of you are doing just that. Here's the number, 1-877-989-2255. So if you want to add your name to this brief, you simply call us at 1-877-989-2255 to stand up for our World War II veterans. And this monument that's been there for 60 years, aclj.org, or 1-877-989-2255. And again, we're in a matching challenge, folks. So when you're at the website or making that call, you make an online donation to the ACLJ. We get it matched. So do that at aclj.org. We'll talk to you in a moment.
It's happened again. An atheist anti-Christian group has gone to court, this time to remove a statue of Jesus, a war memorial erected by World War II heroes on a mountain in Montana that has stood for 6 decades. This memorial was erected as a replica of statues that they saw fighting for freedom across Europe, symbols that gave them hope. Yet the Freedom from Religion Foundation calls this memorial, quote, a ruse and a sham, and has filed a federal lawsuit to get it removed. We've met these outrageous anti-Christian challenges before, and now we'll do it again. The ACLJ will be filing a critical amicus brief with the court, supporting the memorial and urging the court to keep it in place. Stand with the ACLJ, sign on to our amicus brief, send a powerful message to the court and to the atheist group. This symbol of sacrifice must continue to stand. Add your name to our brief now. Call 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.
Welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. The Freedom from Religion Foundation calls this World War II memorial statue of Jesus a sham, yet it is reflective of exactly what our soldiers saw during World War II in the Alps, and that's why it's there as a memorial. They call it a sham. We call it a historically significant monument honoring our troops. Now, here's the issue. We're actually in federal court over this. But this is not the first time we've gone to court defending religious monuments. I want to take you back to a case we had several years ago in Pleasant Grove, Utah. The case involved a Ten Commandments monument that had been around for about 45 years. Same kind of situation. This case went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States, and we won. Take a look.
Well, Ten Commandment litigation had been going on for decades and not very well. And we had this case coming out of Utah where this little town, Pleasant Grove, wanted to fight back. And this group came in to say, well, if you're going to display a Ten Commandments monument, we want you to display our monument, which was called the 7 Aphorisms, which were basically the anti-Ten Commandments monument. The idea being, if cities are forced to do this, they'll be putting them up all over the country and cities will just remove their 10 commandments.
One of the big cases that the court will be tackling does involve this small religious group in Utah who wanted to build a monument in a public park.
They gather inside a pyramid and practice the rite of mummification. This small band of worshipers call themselves Summum. The group, which has about 20 members, wants to donate a monument to the city of Pleasant Grove, which is near Salt Lake City, but the offer was refused.
I went with a very aggressive strategy. It was controversial at the time, where I said, well, look, this is the government making a decision to speak here. The government has the right to engage in activity. If it wants to promote the 10 Commandments because it has historic significance to the community, both from a political standpoint, a moral standpoint, a religious standpoint, it's a perfect right to do it.
Mr. Sekulow, when you come upon this, if somebody comes upon this monument in the park, how are they supposed to tell whether it's government speech or private speech?
Well, of course, the face of it, Mr. Chief Justice, states on the face of the monument that it's presented to Pleasant Grove City in Utah County by the Fraternal Order of Eagles. And as far as a government speech, as far as ownership and control goes, under a more of a Johans analysis, different from Finley and Forbes in that context, here the government exercised control. After all, they allowed it, accepted it, and allowed it to be erected in their property. Under Utah law, all right, title, and interest to that property. Could you imagine a group coming in saying, well, you know, since you've displayed the Statue of Liberty, we're going to demand that the United States accept our monument, same height as the Statue of Liberty. We're going to call it the Statue of Tyranny, because that's how we view America. Would the United States be compelled to display the Statue of Tyranny? Or could they say, no, the government is speaking, and we believe that the United States is a beacon of liberty, and that's why we're going to display the Statue of Liberty? Or at the Holocaust memorials that are throughout the United States in those parks, are you going to have to put a statue to Adolf Hitler because some neo-Nazi group wants it? No. When the government's speaking, it can determine its message. And I remember during the oral argument, Justice Ginsburg asking me about the Ten Commandments display, and I pointed to my right because engraved in the Supreme Court frieze up on the wall is the Ten Commandments, Moses holding those Ten Commandments and the words written in Hebrew. This court has a depiction of Moses holding the Ten Commandments in the frieze of the courtroom with the words written in Hebrew. That's not an endorsement of the religion or of the commandments, it's representative of a history. And I said, basically, if it's good enough for the Supreme Court of the United States, it certainly is good enough for Pleasant Grove. And as I said, 9 justices agreed with this, so it was a great decision and a great result. It's rare you win a Ten Commandments case, and it's even rarer to win it unanimously, and we did, by God's grace. It was a great victory, still is.
All right, folks, I'm going to go back to your phone calls. Again, you saw that was a Ten Commandments case. This is a statute involving Jesus. Same legal arguments involved, though. Church-state separation, same concept. So we're going to get into all that and your phone calls, and back to the phones we go. Donnie is calling on line 4 from California. Hi, Donnie.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I was flipping through the the radio stations here on the way to work, and I heard this about the Jesus statue coming down, and I'm far from a Christian, but anybody that studied history, knows that he probably is the greatest example of peace that was ever shown in this life in the world, and I just think it's who spends their time trying to take down something like that.
Yeah, well, Donnie, who spends their time is the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and they spent their time first lobbying the Forestry Service and now filing a federal lawsuit. They filed it back in February, but it's heating up now with brief schedules starting to come due, and that's why they're fighting. And they've actually said that members of the Freedom from Religion Foundation have had to alter their conduct and to avoid the big mountain because of the Jesus statue. That's what they said. I mean, they're not apologizing for it. They're saying that's the reason they're going to alter their life, because they might glance at this thing and, be so offended that they're just going to have, all kind of repercussions. By the way, this is the same group that went after the cross at Ground Zero. I mean, I could give you the list a mile long. Donnie, I appreciate you calling in. Folks, again, this is why we're fighting back. And this group is calling the statue, the memorial, a sham. They're suing to have it removed. 70,000 of you last year contacted us, and we were able to talk with the Forestry Service or send a letter to the Forestry Service and asking for it to remain in place. We won that. Now the same group is suing the Forestry Service, and we're in federal court on that. We're going to be representing members of Congress from Montana, other members of Congress, and you. And we want to get representation from all 50 states. And if you're sick and tired of being pushed around, and if you're offended by somebody saying they have to alter their conduct or else they're going to have to glance upon a statue of Jesus and be, irreparably harmed, which is what they're arguing. If that bothers you, then you go to the phones right now and you add your name to the brief. You can do it at aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or aclj.org. Donna is calling from Massachusetts. She's on line 6. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Jay.
Hi.
I'm home today, and I've been listening to you on the radio, and I'm saying to myself, I am so tired of hearing people say that they want freedom from this and freedom from that. Freedom is what we're all about. But I was saying to the gentleman who answered the phone, I don't like violent movies. Should I then bring a lawsuit against Hollywood?
Yeah, right. They always say, the religious right, they're the censors. They're censoring here. And the reality is the great censors in our culture are these, atheists that are so offended by just the mere thought of or happen to glance upon a religious symbolism of any type.
Well, let's not forget, in the Ground Zero Cross case, they claimed that they got ill. They were sick.
Physically ill.
Physically ill by looking at the cross. I mean, it's at some point it just gets absurd. And we had a caller just moments ago, not a Christian, did not feel excluded by this statue, was not offended by this statue. It's hardly the case that putting a historical shrine on public property excludes anyone. If you don't like it, don't look at it.
All right, Alonzo is calling from California. He's on line 5. Hi, Alonzo. Welcome to the broadcast. You're on the air.
Hi, sir. Regarding the Jesus Memorial,
yes,
I just wanted to make the comment that if I was the lawyer defending the case, and hopefully you incorporate this, would be that my argument would be if is the Jesus Memorial or religious articles on federal land are not unconstitutional unless the government forces you to worship it.
Well, that is a great point. No one is mandated to worship there. No one's mandated to look at it. I mean, as one Supreme Court justice said, if you're so offended by it, literally look the other way. The difficulty, but you have to take these cases seriously because, look, we've had a district court judge, David, that said the Pledge of Allegiance was unconstitutional. One struck down the National Day of Prayer. You eventually get it overturned. But you got to take these seriously because the Establishment Clause issues are always a bit complex, and you don't know where a court's going to be on that. That's why we're taking this so seriously.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, anytime a case is filed in federal court, you have to you have to take that extremely seriously. But the caller makes just a great point. The Establishment Clause was designed to prevent you from being coerced.
Right.
Coerced into worship or expression that you didn't believe in. This is so far from that. The Founding Fathers would look at this lawsuit and they would laugh.
Yeah. But you don't know what the federal judge is going to do, and that's why we're taking it seriously. And by the way, talking about taking it seriously, 16,268 of you have already signed on to this brief online. This is the Committee to Defend the Jesus Statue War Memorial. Hundreds of you are calling in. So again, ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or ACLJ.org. Jason's calling. He's on line 3. Hi, Jason.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, God said his word is sharper than any two-edged sword. So if every Christian in America listening to your program right now went to that Freedom from Religion website and started praying for them, just send them emails that they're praying for them in Jesus' name, that should have a huge effect.
Listen, nothing wrong with doing that. I think that's fine. I'm sure that they. I don't advocate other people's websites of the opposing groups, but that's not. I understand what you're saying. But let me tell you what we have to do here, folks. We've got to take direct action, and direct action means there's a lawsuit that is filed. We have to respond to that lawsuit. How do we respond? We fight back by filing a brief that argues the legal position clearly. That's where you come in. I need all 50 states to be represented on this, and I need you to be part of our team. This is how it's going to work. I want you right now to go to aclj.org or call me at 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255. or aclj.org. And when you do that, I want you're adding your name to this brief that we'll be filing in district court. So again, aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. But visit the website now, aclj.org.
It's happened again. An atheist anti-Christian group has gone to court, this time to remove a statue of Jesus, a war memorial erected by World War II heroes on a mountain in Montana that has stood for 6 decades. This memorial was erected as a replica of statues that they saw fighting for freedom across Europe, symbols that gave them hope. Yet the Freedom from Religion Foundation calls this memorial, quote, a ruse and a sham, and has filed a federal lawsuit to get it removed. We've met these outrageous anti-Christian challenges before, and now we'll do it again. The ACLJ will be filing a critical amicus brief with the court, supporting the memorial and urging the court to keep it in place. Stand with the ACLJ, sign on to our amicus brief, send a powerful message to the court and to the atheist group. This symbol of sacrifice must continue to stand. Add your name to our brief now. Call 1-877-989-2255 or online aclj.org.